What's up, Creighton fans? Welcome into the Creighton Basketball Newsletter. I'm Jon Nyatawa with the World-Herald, here to bring you the latest on Jays hoops. Practice is beginning very soon. I'm recording this on a Monday. Practice starts tomorrow on Tuesday. So a lot of work is going to be put in by the Jays over the course of the next 5-6 weeks as they prepare for the start of the 2021-2022 season. Now, they've already been hard at work. I should say that. They've got team workouts, individual workouts. Obviously, the summer off-season is big for a lot of guys to improve on their skills. But now it's kind of like the official sort of checkpoint, one of the checkpoints in the preseason, when they can actually get to work on a sort of day-by-day basis, extend that time on the court together from previously limited to an hour workout as a team a couple times a week. Now they can go 2 hours, maybe even 3, so they can really dig into some of the details that they need to, offensively and defensively. Obviously, the Jays got to learn a lot because there's a ton of newcomers. So in my head, I've got 3 storylines to watch that I want to share with you, 3 sort of topics to monitor as the Jays progress through the preseason. And I'll be here. TV's kind of shortened out a little bit, but I'm here, so don't worry about that. I'll be here every week from now until really the end of the season, bringing you as many updates as I can and tracking some of these storylines as best as I can. So if you haven't subscribed yet, omaha.com/newsletters is where you need to go. You just click a little box, and then this video, some of my writings, analysis pieces will pop right into your email inbox on every Tuesday of the month, or of the week. So preseason practice, 3 storylines to watch. One of the things I wrote about on Sunday was team chemistry, and I think that's big for this group. I mentioned a ton of newcomers. Everyone knows it, right? You got the top 10 recruiting class that Creighton brought in, a couple graduate transfers, and a walk-on from Tennessee. So it's 15-man roster, 8 newcomers, plus the fact that the returnees didn't necessarily get a ton of playing time. They were in the rotation, obviously. Sharif Mitchell, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Alex O'Connell, but for the most part, it's a new group. And one of the sort of signature traits of Creighton over the last few years has been its bond, the continuity, the chemistry on the court. You can see it every time that the Jays are especially sort of squeezed a little bit or put in adverse scenarios, or they have some unfortunate results. The way they're able to bounce back, band together, and kind of keep pursuing that goal, that's been huge for this program. That's one of the reasons why they had so much success over the last 2 years. They were able to take some adversity and keep running. It even made them better at times. So can this group do that? I think it's obviously important. I talked to a few of the team leaders over the last week or so, and it was a big emphasis all off season to just get to know one another, for one, but also kind of put each other in situations where you're out of your shell, whether that's just conversations, having sort of deep discussions, personal discussions, or on the court where you're really pushing yourself and doing things that you're not used to. The Jays want to be close. They feel close, but then again, it's the off season. It's not a lot of you can manufacture some adversity, but it's not going to be the real thing that you're going to deal with when the season begins and you hit a loss, or there's a stretch where someone's in a shooting slump, or maybe playing time dips for a couple people. How does this team handle that kind of stuff? It'll be interesting to see, because like I said, they haven't been together for very long, and so they've been pretty intentional about building some chemistry and bonds. But what happens in a couple months, we'll see. So they're going to continue at that this preseason, and I'm curious to see how it goes. Now that they'll have some consistent, regular time as a team together on the court. There'll be adversity this preseason. There's no question about that. When you're talking about practicing every day and really sort of your body's going to start getting sore, and it's going to be a lot sort of on your plate mentally. And you're going to be thinking as a player, can we just play some games? And then you look at the calendar, oh shoot, we're only 3 weeks in. So there's going to be some moments for this team to grow during the preseason, so I'm curious how they do it. Another thing is defense. I think that obviously Creighton over the last 2 seasons took some big steps defensively, but New roster, obviously, new coaching staff, at least in terms of the assistants who are in charge of the defense. Ryan Miller is hired, and he's going to take over the reins as sort of the de facto defensive coordinator. That was Paul Lust's role last year, well, the last 3 years, but he left the program this past offseason and went to Purdue. So how do things shift, or how are things tweaked from a schematic standpoint, and then how quickly can these guys adjust to them and take it all in, and then be ready to apply them in game time? I think about the last time Creighton had sort of a young roster was 3 years ago, the 2018-19 team, and defensively, just those concepts, the detail that was required. The detail matched with the effort needed. Like, you got to be sort of really specific about what you're trying to do, but also play hard. And that was it's just an area that team, it took those young guys a while to sort of adjust to and figure out how to play that way when the lights were on. They eventually sorted it out, and obviously the last year they leaned on their defense a ton on that run to the Sweet 16. So how quickly can this group figure it out? That's something to watch on defense. And lastly, the freshmen. I mean, it's the best recruiting class in recent history for Creighton. So obviously, we're all curious about how quickly these guys can transition to D1 ball. Creighton has some veterans that it'll lean on. Obviously, we know Sharif Mitchell, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Alex O'Connell. Those guys are going to be in the mix for playing time, certainly potential starters right there. Ryan Hawkins and Keyshawn Fizel bring some experience, some veteran presence at the 4 or 5 position. Those two guys are going to be in the mix, you would think. Rati Andronikashvili, now he hasn't played yet, but he's a redshirt freshman coming off injury. Assuming that process goes well, like, he has a chance to contribute. What did I name? 5 guys? Obviously, Creighton needs more. And so these 5 freshmen are going to obviously all have a chance to play right away. And I'm curious to see if they can work their way into the regular rotation. How many can do that? How many can start, potentially? We'll see. So all 5 of them bring some really intriguing skill sets and talents to the table. And they all do things a little bit differently too. So what does Creighton need? How quickly can they find a role within this team? That'll be interesting to watch over the next few weeks. And also the freshman wall. Sometimes that hits, honestly, week 3, week 4 of preseason. Sometimes it doesn't hit until February. Sometimes there's more than one wall. So how do these guys handle that transition? It's going to be an ongoing process, but obviously really curious to see how they do in preseason. So those are my 3 storylines to watch as the Jays approach the start of preseason practice. It's Tuesday, so we'll be here bringing you as much info on the Jays as they work toward the start of the 2021-22 season. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you. Jon Nyatawa. I'm out.